All right, so this is the last step in doing the zoo. We're going to do the coloring and we're going to do the lettering. I'm knock them both out on this one at the same time, even though I usually do them in a kind of assembly line format where I do all the lettering at once, all coloring at once, all the penciling at once, and all of the inking at once. We're going to do all of it for this one little guy. We do it all at the same time. So I'm going to do the lettering and the coloring back to back on this guy instead of doing them across the board. Get rid of some of the stuff I've got up here because I don't need it anymore. And then we're good to go. Now here I have all of the individual strips set out as their own individual file. And then all we've got open are a blank white layer and the inking. So the black layer is there, white layer is there. We're going to color on the white layer, and that is going to be the working setup here. Now I've got all of the colors that I use on the zoo here on, most of them are on this quick access board. And I like that because it gives me the ability to lock in the actual colors that I use the most so that I don't have to go down here and hunt for them. For instance, I've got the zoo uniform color so that I can go in and just do a quick fill on all of the green parts on the Doc's uniform so that we can get that knocked out. In these smaller panels, that is a tricky process because the fill tool doesn't like really tiny areas. Once I got that done, then we'll go into the blue for his pants, then we'll go into the red for his shoes. Now Doc's got a very unique color scheme for his home. Everything is blue and purple. I did that kind of accidentally at first, then I like the way it looks and I kept it. And if we have to get down into the nit and the grit of it, blue is my favorite color, so there you go. That's why the Doc has a blue living room and a blue bedroom. That said, it's not ubiquitous. He has some other colors in there as well, but for for the sake of the argument, blue. And the bridge work is this red color, so all of the molding is red. I'm going to add just a little bit of red, just a little bit of side mount flavor, and you'll notice that I'm missing spots in here. That's okay. I'm not gonna lose my shit over losing some spots here because I know that I'm missing them, and I know that I'm going to go back and get them later. And some of them are really tiny. Like I said, the fill tool here on Clip Studio doesn't like that. So what I do on like little bitty lines like this that I know are going to be straight is I get the pen tool selected, I hold the shift key, and I just do one long swipe. So that gets it. So when I got one color and I want to put a little bit of a shade to it, I keep that color selected. I go to the color picker and I just go with a darker version of it. And then that gives me the three-dimensional look that I'm going for with this. So when you pull back, everything looks a little bit 3D. Now, I don't do that everywhere, but for the most part, that's the trick that I use. And then to catch the areas that I missed, I just go to the eyedropper tool, which is the I hotkey, and then the fill tool, which is double G. And that gets the fill tool popped out and gets all the colors blocked in quickly. Now, I don't do a lot of detailed coloring on this strip because it's a daily comic strip and there's no need. The 5 people that read this on a regular basis aren't going to notice if I get a little bit of shading in there. So I'm not really busting my backside to get that done. But that said, I do have one little bit that I put in here that I forgot to knock out, but you get to see the process here. Now you'll notice I'm taking out the white background here on these two specific spots. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import the picture that the doc has in his living room, which is this one. And I have 3 different layers or 3 different flavors of it, small, medium, and large, that I copy and paste into the artwork. And then it just goes in a layer right behind it. Deselect that so that it is no longer in the corner. Now, the quickest way to get that to fill that weird space from a square is to go over to edit, go over to transform, and do a little bit of free transform. Now that's going to give me that square here. I want to pull back a little bit because I've got a little bit more space in here than that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag these dots to where they're supposed to be. So that's what the picture would look like if it were on the wall. Boom, done. That's the painting. We'll do that twice. And all you gotta do is line up that one corner, come over here to transform, pick the free transform button or option, and then make sure that you line everything up in perspective so that that's what it looks like. And just to see what that looks like in real time, you can tell that that's the painting in a little bit of a, I messed that up. So let me get in there. See a little bit of white down there in the bottom. And I'm going to go back to free transform just for this one guy and lock that one down. So we're good. Now, because I want all this to be on the same layer, I'm going to select all 3 of these, and I'm going to go into merge selected layers so they all turn into the same layer. Now that locks these in, and I can move it around. But you see that the painting is technically still behind me. Now, I don't want all of that because I'm working in the coloring layer, so snap undo to get that back in, and then we'll go. Now, I want to do a little bit of that darkening here on this wall, but I don't want to go that far. That's it. That's my color. A lot of the coloring that I'm doing here is, excuse me, a lot of the coloring that I'm doing here is trial and error. And sometimes I get it right the first time, sometimes I just have to go back. So we're going to get all of these little corners knocked down. I got all the background done. Then use the eyedropper tool to catch that and then fill that in. Now I got a little bitty spot right up here in the corner, right there. It's too small for the fill tool, but paintbrush will get it just fine. Now, roof is going to be yellow. I don't know why I picked yellow as the roof, but for some reason, he's got a yellow roof. The lights are out, so it's not really very well lit. Now, I mentioned that I was going to put a fruit picture here in the background. So we're going to do the same process, but here I'm going to do a quick, come on now. This is supposed to work like that. What I'm doing is I'm looking for a picture of fruit. But the zoom thing is messing with me. Just rely on my crappy internet to pull up a picture of fruit. I think I'd have this already set, but I don't exactly work from a script, as you probably have noticed. Fruit pictures. Boom. There we go. So I don't care what it is. I don't really notice the paintings in the Doc's room, except for that one from New York, because that's got sentimental value to me. But the fruit pictures here, there's a good one. And we're back. Get that deselect button banged out. And then we're just going to Control V and Control V that picture in. Why is it not working? You know what? Screw it. We're going to do this. We're going to go with the brush, and we're going to pick a big brush. And I don't want to cut that entire layer. I want to undo that. I'm going to throw a second layer down underneath it, just exactly as I did if I were painting that in here. And then we're just going to cover that. Then we're going to pick and choose some fruit to put in there. So there's a little apple. We're going to get a banana. We're going to throw in some strawberries because everybody likes strawberries. Get one behind, one in front. Now for the back, I'm going to put in a big old cantaloupe because cantaloupe is cool, no matter what anybody tells you. But because this is a painting, there's going to be some shading in it. I'm taking an ordinate amount of time on this when normally I would just jump straight into doing something else. But the internet's pissed me off today, so we're going to get creative. Now, most paintings, if you'll notice, when you're looking at old school paintings of fruit and stuff like that, have a kind of a texture to the background where it's light in the front and then up on the top you get a little bit more detail in here. So that's what we're going to put in. We're going to put the detail on the top. And because I'm working in a big space boxed off by a little space, I can get away with a lot of cheating. There we go. Now that's our painting. Now we're going to duplicate that here with the strawberries. I'm going to drop the cantaloupe into the background. Now, when you guys look at this on Monday and you see this painting of fruit knocked in, you're going to remember that I did the whole thing on the fly, like Bill O'Reilly screaming out in a fit of spastic rage, "Screw it, we'll do it live," because that's how I roll. So when you see the crap that I put out there on a Monday morning, just remember, you got to see that crap get made. And I know that that is not exactly what you were tuning in here for. So we'll just pretend that I didn't say that. And there we go. We're in the painting. Hoorah. And then we're going to go ahead and merge those two guys. Now I got the rest of the tones here locked in, so we're going to go ahead and just get this banged down as quickly as possible because I think I've used up my patience with this. All right, let's go a little bit larger on this because I want to get, and you see the limitations of the fill tool right here in prime time. That table is brown. The chairs are light brown because he's a doctor. He buys his stuff at Ethan Allen. this is red and the flowers are orange. And the stems are green. There we go. Now, Doc's mask, light baby green. And there's a spot that we missed. Get that locked in, light baby green. Go. And go. Now that's it. That's all the color he gets. He doesn't get anything else on him. But we got to finish out this. So the thing that I really love about the fill tool is that you hold it down and drag it across, and it hits every single one of those spots. The only drawback to that is it does this weird stuff in there. So occasionally you will miss corners and intersections because it doesn't really hit them. And see that little spot right there that's green? Yeah. Or we're going to go in there and cover that. We're going to do a little bit of this so it gives us a 3-dimension. There it is. That. Is how you color the central zoo. All right, now we got that knocked out. We're going to go straight into the lettering because that is what the second step is. Now I've got the script here. You don't see it, which is perfectly fine with me. I kind of want to keep that a little bit of a secret, but you're going to get to see it all here. Now keep the lettering at the same level, at the same size. I'm working off of a 5-point text size. Lettering is all done in digital strip BB, so that's the font that I use. That's the size that I use, and it's pretty much basic from there. So this is the doc, and it's got somebody talking over him in a narrator box. So this is going to be a square box with an inside color. Seems not in the playoffs. Font button's a little bit weird. Sometimes it doesn't catch and you'll end up doing some pretty weird stuff on that. Just make sure that when you're doing it, you get that blinking cursor on here. Now, one of the tricks on this is this little box right here. When you see this box around the individual letters that you're typing in, individual boxes you're typing in, that means that you've got the ability to link those with a balloon, with a tail. That works when you've got the same character speaking twice in one panel and you want to link the two so that you don't have to draw a balloon tail to him in every single one. You could just draw a bridge balloon tail and then the curly balloon tail to the character. But because we're using boxes, that's not that necessary. I'm still going to link them in though because it just does that by default. So you got to make sure that we're blinking. This last bit is not in the script. I just added that. So that happens from time to time. Now, the way that the lettering works here, the way the boxes work is the white color is the background, the black color is the border. And in the balloon tail That happens from time to time because the mouse settings are not as sensitive. They're not as sensitive as I'd like. Perhaps they're a little bit too sensitive. Now, the drawback to doing a color inside of a box is you don't really have a lot of latitude to go with. I like using orange because it makes it stand out. When you draw the box, just make sure you draw a square. And there it is. You can't really tell, but that box is yellow or orange against a white background. It's very subtle. If you go any worse than that, if you go to the extreme, it just looks weird. Now, I've done that before, and I'm not a big fan of it. But then, hold the control key, you've got the ability to move the box around. So, I kind of want them all to be just off of the border at the top a little bit. You see why it wasn't that big of a deal to have that painting completely fleshed out. And the arrow key lets you get a little bit of a finer point on it. Then when you want to go into moving a specific box around, you have to select the text key and then go back to the balloon. And that gives you the ability to then manipulate its position. You just have to do it in that specific order or it won't work. And again, I just want it a little bit off of the border at the top. And that is it. That is a full episode, strip of Central Zoom. Penciled, inked, colored, and lettered. Didn't even take me that long. Thanks for watching. And I'll probably do some more of these when I try to do some more individual little strips just to kind of give you an idea what it looks like and what is entailed in actually doing this process.